What's up, chat? Anyone got join, bro? Like,
I don't know if that's good. Morgan? Who's breathing?
This is an official report from the...
know how the fuck they got to me, but they
I just don't want. I don't want the TikTok yet. What do we think, Josh? Should we do it? What do we think, Josh? Should we do it? What do we? Tralalala done. I'll give him moderator for the entire year. Chat, I do want this. Tralalala. And I know he can get. He can. Oh, fucking great. He was like, my shoes. Run. Run.
Nope. Green, let's go. Okay, we're doing it right now. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Okay, we're doing it right now. In
Here's your cat's nail. When you were trimming before, you probably hurt them because you couldn't see the quick. But now,
This is the most extreme free clean I've ever done, and it's also very upsetting. It took 11 days to finish, 3 months to plan, and I spent £5,000 on it before the clean even began. The bathtub is filled with years of human feces, and the room is covered in used tissue paper and sanitary products. A property that is on this scale of contamination would cost thousands and thousands of pounds to clean. But as you guys know, I clean for people in need, and I only clean for free. Like the majority of people that I clean for, the resident living here struggles immensely with their mental health. Mess like this did not accumulate overnight. It took years for this property to get to this condition. The amount of airborne fecal matter meant that it was also unsafe to be anywhere close to this flat without full PPE. I'm gonna start by draining this bathtub and deep cleaning this bathroom. Full warning, it is quite graphic, so feel free to use the timestamps on screen and skip to after the bathtub has been drained if you need to. But before that, let me unblur this footage for you and show you what we're working with. A few years ago, this bathroom toilet became blocked and wouldn't flush. The resident didn't feel comfortable calling a plumber to help, so they started using their bathtub instead. Now obviously that is a massive leap, but it's important to understand that choices like this don't come from a healthy headspace. The resident has very bravely asked me to share their story in hopes that it might help others that are struggling. Although this type of thing is difficult to watch, I believe it's important that we see it. I believe that silence and shame fuel suicidal thoughts. And if we talk about poor mental health, show empathy and encourage understanding, we can save lives. With all that being said, let's start cleaning. There was so much stuff in this hallway that not only was it almost impossible to open the front door, but it was really difficult to access the bathroom, so that needed clearing first. Now, I previously mentioned that it took over 3 months just to organize this free clean. That's because there were so many moving parts. The biggest moving part was the waste removal. Human waste like this can't be disposed of in a normal way. It can't go in a skip, it can't go in a bin. If the toilet hadn't have been blocked, what I would have done is got a big bucket and manually scooped out bucket by bucket the contents of the bath and poured it down the toilet. However, obviously the toilet doesn't flush, so that was not an option. And no plumber was prepared to come into this property to look at the toilet until it was completely clean. Trust me, I asked around. Although this bathroom was the most intense part of this flat, it surprisingly ended up being the easiest and most straightforward to clear. There was 4 categories of waste in here. There was the liquid human waste in the bathtub, the solid human and cat waste on the floor, then there was tissue and sanitary products, and then miscellaneous bits like towels and shower curtains. It was super important that everything in this room was disposed of legally and safely. So I hired a professional biohazard cleaning team to help me with this room. Immediately, everything other than the liquid waste in the bathtub was bagged up. This should technically go in orange clinical waste bags, but I did put it into normal black bin bags just for the privacy of the resident while we were taking the bags down. When it came time to tackle the bath, it made the most sense just to empty it directly into the London City sewage system. So that's what we did. We drained it using a massive 80-litre industrial wet vac. And honestly, I always forget how much water bathtubs can hold until you have to manually drain it like this. We ended up filling up this 80-litre wet vac and emptying it 5 times, which equates to 400 litres of human waste. And I know what you're thinking. B, how is that possible? The average bathtub only holds about 200 litres of waste. Well, bestie, I'm glad you asked. Fun fact, there was no plug hole in this bathtub. As you've already seen, despite having no plug hole, the entire bathtub was filled to the brim with liquid waste. That's because the waste had overflowed into the pipes beneath and blocked the entire drainage system. And that blockage stretched meters down through the drains all the way to the main sewage system outside. It was like an infinite poop glitch. Like every time we thought we had got all of the waste out, there was more and more and more. But it doesn't matter. We got there in the end, and that is the important part. And since hiring a plumber was still out of the question, the next hurdle after that was making sure that those same drains were unblocked all the way down.
I don't even know if you guys can hear me, but this is progress.
Choose your language and start learning now for free. Download the world's #1 language learning app. Language learning app.
Like every time question, the next hurdle after that was making sure that those same drains were unblocked all the way down.
I don't even know if you guys can hear me, but this is progress. Let me show you what we've done. So the bathtub draining, which is absolutely incredible, is very slow, but it is working, and that is such a good sign for us. These two, Duo Unblocker by HG, so really good stuff. The sink is now completely unblocked. Great sign. The toilet's looking a lot better too. All of this is dead flies. So today's job is deep cleaning it. I'll put the specifications on the screen of what you need, but it's going to be cleaned. That's the point.
Okay, whilst I start spraying down absolutely everything with Claw Clean, I think it's time for me to share a little bit about the resident living here and what happened for their home to reach this point. You might notice throughout the rest of this clean that there are moving boxes that were never unpacked in pretty much every single room of this home. From this moment onwards, I'm going to be referring to the resident as Charlie. Charlie has a lot of trauma dating back to when they were a young child. Charlie was horrifically abused by family members from a very young age. When Charlie's mother and grandmother later found out, they took Charlie and fled. Charlie's mother struggled with her mental health, so Charlie's grandmother became Charlie's primary carer. Despite a really traumatic childhood, Charlie began to heal. She worked through what happened in her childhood through therapy. She was doing really well at school. She got into her dream university and then her dream internship. Everything seemed to be going great until a few years ago, Charlie's grandmother sadly passed away. Within a few months of that happening, both of Charlie's parents also passed away. Before their passing, Charlie was staying with her family in a council flat. After they all passed, the council moved Charlie into this flat. At this point, it was the height of COVID. People were social distancing, people were becoming lonelier and more isolated. And as this was happening, Charlie's anxiety began to spiral and their depression took over. Not only did Charlie have all of their moving boxes that they needed to unpack, they also inherited all of their parents' and their grandparents' personal items. The idea of sorting through all these belongings whilst in the depths of grief was quite frankly too overwhelming, and Charlie simply shut down. And 5 years later, when I showed up to Charlie's home to clean it for free for them, those boxes still hadn't moved an inch since they were first laid down in that spot 5 years prior. Throughout all of this, Charlie continued to go to her therapy sessions, and although she was struggling a lot behind closed doors, she was still presenting to the world as someone who was coping. But that all sadly changed in 2023 when Charlie was sexually assaulted on a work trip abroad. This was very much the straw that broke the camel's back. When Charlie got back to the UK, she was still in the depths of grief, but now she also felt very vulnerable. So when her toilet broke down and stopped flushing, Charlie understandably didn't feel comfortable inviting a plumber she didn't know into her home to fix it, so she resorted to using her bathtub instead. Okay, I forgot to bring the camera today for YouTube, and I also forgot to bring my spare phone, but today, right now, what we're doing is we're removing this very stubborn mark that's rimming the bathtub. I've already started on this corner over here, and as you can see, I have my baby. There's just nothing this product can't do. Basically, we're putting that everywhere. Okay, it's day 4 and it is finally time for us to start on the living room and kitchen. Now immediately, it's quite hard to tell on camera just how high these piles of rubbish were. In the kitchen, it reached the top of the fridge, and you guys might already know I'm 5'2" on a good day. I am not this tall, I'm just stood on so many layers of rubbish, it makes me look really tall. Anyway, remember when I told you about everything that was going on at the time of Charlie moving into this flat? Well, because of that, nothing was really properly set up. So, for example, Charlie's washing machine was never plumbed in, so it's never worked. Same for her oven. She's never been able to cook a meal in here. So, although this looks like an insane amount of takeaways and rubbish and food, you need to remember that this is 5 years worth of waste that was just never taken out to the main bin. Whenever I show homes like this one, I get loads of questions about how the resident lived on a day-to-day. How did they shower? Where did they cook? Where did they sleep? So I'm gonna answer them now, starting with, obviously, how did they eat? So first off, Charlie has multiple jobs. Charlie's jobs don't pay a crazy amount. The majority of her paycheck was spent on food and on a gym membership. That gym membership gave her somewhere where she could shower and feel clean. Charlie slept on the floor in her bedroom in a sleeping bag, and she'd slept that way for 5 years. When I first met Charlie, she told me she was on the verge of suicide. She'd emerged from her depression enough to recognize the condition of her surroundings. She knew she didn't want to live this way, but at the same time, she truly believed that both she and her situation were beyond helping. I'm gonna read just a little bit of what Charlie said in her application form when she applied for a free clean. And I'm not going to change any of the wording, these are her direct words. I feel on the verge of suicide. I'm too ashamed to ask my remaining family for help because I feel they'll be incredibly judgmental. I don't want to live another year like this. I feel utterly disgusted at myself. I just want to have a stable home, a stable life where I can enjoy living again. I want to have friends over and take pride in my space. Mostly, I just want to finish assembling the bed that I bought in 2021, as I never had the space to put it together before. Now, personally, everything about Charlie's story moved me. It's very upsetting, it's very raw, and I realised that it's a lot to take in, so before we move forwards in this clean, I just want to reassure everyone watching, it's now coming up to being 4 months since I finished cleaning Charlie's flat. We've stayed in contact ever since, and we talk quite regularly. I literally spoken to her earlier today. The Charlie that I know now is a different Charlie to the girl that I started speaking to over 6 months ago. Charlie is now living the exact same life that she never believed would be possible for her. So yeah, I've got lots of updates about Charlie post-clean that she has said she is very happy for me to share with you about how she's doing now, and we will include all of that in this video, but I'm gonna pop it towards the end. I just wanted to drop in that little update early because I know the last few minutes of this video and explaining Charlie's story have been quite dark, and I do just want to reassure you that Charlie is thriving. She's living, breathing proof that it does get better. We're really getting ahead of ourselves, guys, because we've not even started cleaning the fridge. I've not even set a trotter in Charlie's bedroom. That needs doing. You know, we're far from even halfway. So buckle up. Now, day 5 was actually a very exciting day because I had a special guest. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll already know I do not clean with other people. I do not have a team. It is me and Harry, and that is it. However, for this clean, I was not alone. My friend Candice, who works at HG, dedicated an entire day to helping me and Harry clear this living room. That is Candice. She's an angel. Before she arrived, Harry and I were barely making a dent in this room, but after a few hours of Candice's help, we were finally making our way into the corners of the living room.
Hi YouTube. So what's happening? Harry is popping all of the clothes into these bin bags, and those are going to temporarily go in the bedroom. This is Candice from HG. Hi. She's sorting through all of the rubbish on the floor. So that's any food packaging, old Amazon boxes, stuff like that. And that's how we're going to tackle this corner. We're doing it slightly differently, a little bit slower, just because this is where the majority of the personal items are located. So we want to make sure that we're not chucking away anything that we don't need to chuck away, basically.
In this corner was the majority of all of the items that had previously belonged to Charlie's parents and grandparents. So it was really important that we took our time with this corner. There were a lot of photos of Charlie and her family within this pile, so I have decided it is just easier to completely get rid of all of the footage.
What is an eSIM and how do I get one? Well, what you want to be using is an eSIM, which works just like a SIM card.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you, day 6 was mentally one of the toughest days for me personally, because this was the day that we finally started sorting through Charlie's bedroom. Charlie had no furniture in her bedroom. She also didn't have a bed. She slept on a sleeping bag in the corner of the room. Her sleeping area was the only clear space in the entire flat, and it was tucked away at the bottom of the room, whereas the top of the room was the complete opposite. There was a barricade of moving boxes and heavy pieces that turned the doorway into an obstacle course, and honestly, I don't know if that was just a coincidence or a subconscious choice, but it almost felt like she was creating a physical barrier between herself in her safe space and the chaos of the rest of the place. So the approach I decided to take with this room is first removing all of the big bulky items and then taking them to that space in the living room corner that we'd cleared earlier, where I could start sorting through everything. Charlie found it very painful to go through these items, but at the same time she knew she had to go through them at some point. So I asked her to give me a list of everything that she knew she wanted throwing away that was inside those boxes, and I threw them away for her so she didn't have to worry or look at it Everything again. Else was put to the side for me and Charlie to go through together later in the clean, because obviously going through all of these items brought up a lot of memories, and you know, it was a very difficult thing for Charlie, so we agreed together it would probably be best for her to have company. So towards the end of the clean, when the flat started getting safer, Charlie would come round in the evenings while I was still cleaning, and we would go through these items together so she wasn't alone.
Halfway through. Kind of.
I'm proud of us. We've done a lot. I'm so excited to get rid of that, like throw that makeshift bed away and get her a nice new bed. Oh my god, there's so much more.
It's day 7, baby, and this was the first day where I felt like I was finally starting to clean. Because at this point, the majority of the rubbish had been taken. Obviously, there was a few scraggly bits here and there, but for the most part, I could see the floor, I was walking on the floor, life was good. It was time for the cleaning to begin. Now, I knew from the get-go these carpets were going to be in pretty bad shape. We're talking years and years of cat food, feces, bin juice, and bacteria on these bad boys. But listen, my motto is always get up all of the chunks of dirt first and then worry about deep cleaning and shampooing and steaming carpets afterwards. So that's what I did. And spoiler alert, these carpets had a full Kris Jenner facelift. They looked absolutely stunning by the time I was done with them. You're about to see some clips of me beginning to clean, and I just want to give a preface before you see it. With every single free clean I do, there are multiple levels to the cleaning itself. And over the course of the free clean, I will deep clean the same exact area and the same exact furniture piece multiple times. I always do a pre-clean, a main clean, a sanitizing session, and a post-clean. And in homes like this one, where there are so many active biohazards, I will repeat that process as many times as it takes until everything is fully sanitized. So what you're seeing here on this table is the pre-clean. It's literally me getting up all of the big pieces of debris and then going in with a degreaser to get up all of that initial first layers of grime and grossness. Now, I just want to say in advance, Charlie does not have very much furniture in her home. However, the furniture that she does have was either gifted to her by her grandmother or it was passed down to her after her family members passed away. So everything she did have did hold a lot of sentimental value. And to be on the edge of caution, usually I would say, you know, maybe we get rid of that. But I obviously don't want to add any more stress for Charlie. So we did add on an extra 2 days of deep cleaning the absolute bejesus out of all of the furniture. There are some clips of that in this video, but if I'm honest with you guys, it was a little bit boring. A lot of that footage didn't make the final cut. And I caught COVID on the last 2 days of this free clean when I was doing all of that furniture cleaning. So if I'm being completely honest with you, I felt like my head was going to explode. I was not changing up the camera angle. The footage was just rolling. I don't think anyone's interested in watching 3 hours of me deep cleaning a chair, you know, because that's what it was like. But yeah, anyway, with all that being said, what you're seeing right now is just the pre-cleaning process. It's getting up the initial top layers of grime and dirt. So don't think, oh my gosh, that doesn't look clean. We're getting there, bestie, okay? Now, one of the main things that I need to talk to you about, but I haven't spoken about yet, is how expensive this clean was. There were 2 amazing brands that offered to sponsor some videos on my TikTok account. Those amazing brands were AO and HG. I used the money that they gave me for those TikTok videos to fund this entire free clean for Charlie. So I'm super thankful to them because I would not have been able to afford doing this free clean without their help. With that being said, let's talk about the costs. Now, I spent £5,000 on this free clean before the clean had even started, before I'd even stepped foot in the property or showed up. And that money was mainly spent on organising the initial waste removal and making sure that the flat was in a condition where I could actually start cleaning. So we needed to make sure we had electricity. We needed to make sure that we had access to hot water. If doing these free cleans has taught me anything, it is to never assume that there's gonna be electricity and running water, because quite often there isn't. In this case, Charlie was in so much debt with her energy provider that they had switched off her access to hot water. So she had running water, but she also had a boiler that didn't work and wouldn't heat that water. A lot of the electrics in her home had also blown and the switchboard was inaccessible due to the rubbish. So yeah, there was a lot that needed sorting before the clean began, and I'm gonna go into that after this little interlude because it's now the end of.
Would you like to grow your own fruits, vegetables, and herbs right in your backyard? Stick around for the next few seconds and I'll tell you how growing all of this
today, and Harry's got something to say.
Alright, so I got here early and took basically everything that was rubbish down to the skip, and I forgot to film any of it, really. Because I didn't think I should have, and then I'm thinking now I probably should have filmed it. So now B's going to be pretty annoyed with me. But basically we just took everything down that was rubbish, kept everything that the resident wants to keep, bag up all the rubbish, and yeah, just keep going really. I'm sorry that I didn't film it. I apologise, viewers. But yeah.
Yeah, Harry was in the naughty corner for a good 30 minutes when I showed up. And if anyone's wondering, how come Harry was there hours before you showed up, B? Well, day 7 was a really big cleaning day for Harry and I. We cleaned for 12 hours straight. After those 12 hours, Harry went home and I stayed at the flat with Charlie going through some of the boxes of her family's things. I didn't get back to my flat that night until past midnight. So the next morning, I had a bit of a lie-in and Harry went over to the flat earlier at 8 AM to get started. And when we showed up, we discovered this. She was here all night, guys, going through her stuff and figuring out what she wants to get rid of, which is a really big job because it's all of her mum's stuff, who's sadly passed away and is no longer with us. And after her mother passed, obviously the woman living here got all of her mother's things, and it's been very painful for her to go through everything. But last night she did it. And I'm so proud of her, and she left this little note and she said, I sat and read through all of the sympathy cards. It made me cry, but it's time to let go. I don't know why, that just got me really emotional. And she said thank you. I agree, it's time to start that next chapter, you know? Love. I get so emotional on some of these cleans. This one's got me in my feels a lot, I'll be real. This was a huge moment for Charlie. The fact that she felt comfortable enough to start going through those boxes by herself after I left was huge. But on top of that, I think it was her wording. She literally said, you know, I had a cry, but I've realised it's time to let go. Reading that, and then at the same time starting to finally touch the corner of Charlie's bedroom where she slept, I just had so many emotions going through my head, so many feelings. And normally at this point in the clean, you know, we've been going for 8 days straight. I've been doing 16-hour days some of these days. I am shattered. But Seeing that spark come back to Charlie as the clean progressed and seeing her making these massive steps towards that fresh start just like relit a fire in me. We were gonna make sure without a shadow of a doubt that this flat is made into a home for Charlie.
I'm not sure if you guys can see like just how dirty all of the walls are. This is mainly fly poop and you're going to be quite far away. So this is what I've got. Hot bucket of soapy water, Scrub Daddy microfiber cloth towels, the damp duster sheets and the damp duster. It's not just flies, it's also fecal matter. Obviously fly, cat and human fecal matter. Oh. So on top of all of that, we've also got our ChloroClean.
Right, whilst I spray down all of the walls and pretty much, let's be honest, everything in sight with ChloroClean, let me talk you through the rest of the costs. The biohazard waste removal team were certainly not cheap, neither were all of the skips that I had to pay for. Charlie didn't have any hot water at her property because she was so heavily in debt with her energy bill provider, so I paid off that debt. That debt also wasn't cheap. At the time of me doing this clean, Charlie was also stuck in a job that she absolutely hated. So from the get-go, when Charlie and I were discussing her goals and, you know, what she wanted to get out of this clean, she said she wants to be in a better headspace so she can obviously start a new life, but also leave that job that makes her so miserable. And I know for a fact it can be really scary to have to worry about finding a new job and the whole interview process whilst you're also worrying about how you're going to pay your bills, etc. So I also put enough money in her utility account to make sure she didn't have to worry about bills for the rest of the year. That also wasn't cheap, but obviously that was my choice to do that. I am not complaining. I would do it again. There were other costs whilst this clean was taking place. Obviously Charlie could not stay here, and because Charlie suffers with her mental health, I did not want to put Charlie in a hotel by herself. So Charlie stayed with a family member. The only issue was the family member was allergic to cats and Charlie has a cat. So I also had to pay someone off Rover to look after Charlie's cat for the 11 days that this clean took place. And then we had lots of other costs such as, buying new furniture. I had to hire people to assemble that furniture because I am so bad at furniture building. Obviously there's the cost of all of my cleaning products and my materials, of my PPE. You know, these masks that we're wearing aren't cheap. The filters for the masks aren't cheap. It all adds up, guys. Yeah, when I say this was my most expensive clean ever, it really truly was. And you know what? It was worth every single penny. I'm just really grateful and feeling very blessed that we had that money available in the first place to spend it on people that really need it most. And that money only exists because sponsors notice me, because you guys watch my videos. I wouldn't have been able to afford to do any of this if you guys didn't watch my videos and comment on them and subscribe to my channels, etc. It all comes back to you and I am eternally grateful. Thank you so much for giving me all the tools I needed to do this free clean for Charlie.
Hey YouTube! We haven't spoken in a long time. You will notice that I am unmasked. Because we're at my favourite part of the clean, which is where I don't need to wear a mask anymore. What I'm doing is I'm hoovering up the kitchen floor and then we're going to clean the kitchen floor because we've got the rug doctor.
Being cool.
And I want to deep clean the bejesus out of the living room floor, but to do that I need to create space. So once this floor is clean, we can obviously then use this space to drag the bits of furniture in. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, by this point in the free clean, the objective is clean these floors up. I like the room to be a blank canvas. I want all of the furniture out if I'm able to make it happen. So that's exactly what I did. I am clearing this kitchen area and cleaning all the caca off the floor so I can put the living room furniture in this small space and start using the rug doctor on that living room carpet. And obviously, as always, everything is cleaned multiple times, so this is not the last time this floor is going to be clean. I've got so much tea that I need to spill about Charlie's landlord, so I'm going to do my best to tell you all of that in between these carpet cleaning segments. The building company I had to deal with are one one of the biggest property developers in London. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to get sued, but they own huge parts of the city. And in their own words, they call themselves entrepreneurial urban regenerators. I mean, that wording says enough.
This is 9 litres of water. The machine needs 8. Fill it up to about here. And that should be enough water. Just to put into context, you guys didn't see me do the hallway, but the hallway was 4 loads. How many loads do you think it will do to do this entire living room? But I'm excited to see what we can do with it, because this carpet is not in a good way, besties. Hopefully it's coming up on camera just how unpleasant it is.
Back to talking about the company that owns Charlie's Flat. Their business model is quite simple. It's buy up land, bulldoze what's there, and replace it with luxury tower blocks. It's literally gentrification on steroids. Prices in the area shoot up, locals get pushed out, they're replaced with the top 1% of earners, and suddenly you've got areas of London that's purely only inhabited by millionaires and billionaires. And these huge complexes, they come with rooftop pools and private gyms and cinemas and gardens, and they are designed for millionaires, not ordinary people like you and me.
Can I just say, that's crazy. You can literally see the outline of the little square that I did. That tiny square, we've already filled up the rug doctor. So let's see what colour the water is. Oh, girls, this is heavy and it's sloshing all about. Harry was right. I definitely should have started doing this yesterday, like doing the carpets and the floors. You ready for the colour? Oh. Delicious. It's black, and that was just that one tiny little area. How insane is that? But it does make a big, visible difference, so I don't regret it. Right, we're going to do this area next.
Now, I don't want to bore you, but there are laws in London that essentially require big developers like these ones to provide a quota of social housing within these luxury blocks. And the flat that I'm cleaning is one of those social housing flats. I don't have any hostility towards the wealthy private residents in this building development. I do, however, have hostility towards the building development company. I feel that they made this clean as difficult as it possibly could be for me to organise, and that they didn't care about Charlie's well-being and the well-being of every other social resident on this building development. And I know that's an extreme thing to say, but bear with me. So one of the biggest issues with this free clean is that the building development company had a strict rule that under no circumstances were any skips to be visible for the private residents, because skips were an eyesore. This definitely threw a spanner in the works. Charlie's building had so much security around it that it was not an option for me to do this clean without directly consulting the people who owned the building. Now, call me a diva, but when I was told it's a blanket rule, no skips allowed, I obviously kept asking, because I could not comprehend why the building company would not be prepared to make an exception for this case, because this is an extreme case. Now, there was one guy who was the building manager of Charlie's building. His bosses were the big billionaire bosses that lived overseas. And blanket term, they should care about Charlie. They should want her to receive a free clean, because it benefits her, it benefits them, and it benefits everyone else living in the block. It is a no-brainer. All I needed was permission to put a skip outside Charlie's flat. And you know, I laid out my full argument, which I'm not going to bore you with it, but my main points were: this flat is so heavily hoarded with rubbish that if one item sets on fire, the whole flat's going up with it. It is a fire hazard. Second, if, God forbid, the flat were to go up in flames and Charlie was inside, it would take a considerable amount of time for Charlie to reach safety because of all of the items that she had placed between her and the outside world to barricade her into her safe space. Next, if this flat were hypothetically to set on fire, it would most likely take a lot of the other flats in the block with it. He did not care. He told me I should use the communal bins and that the communal bins would be good enough and that I was causing a fuss over nothing. I went back and forth with this man for a good 4 months, trying, pleading, and you know me, I am very reasonable, very nice. This man just didn't care. He did not care. He himself told me that he's received countless complaints from other people in the block about Charlie's home and about certain scents that were emerging from Charlie's home. And I said to him, so let me clean it. Like, I can clean it. All I need is for you to let me have a skip. And also, bearing in mind, these people have a legal responsibility. They legally need to do checks on Charlie's home. They need to make sure that her appliances work. They need to make sure that there are no fire risks. They have the same obligations that every other landlord has in the UK, and they failed Charlie on every single front. They never bothered to check in with her. They never bothered to investigate why everyone around Charlie was saying that there was unpleasant smells coming from the flat. For all they that there was unpleasant smells coming from the flat. For all they that there was unpleasant smells coming from the flat. For all they that there was unpleasant smells coming from the flat. For all they that there was unpleasant smells coming from the flat. For all they
Choose your language and start learning now for free. Download the world's #1 language learning app, Duolingo.
I believe your home deserves to be as beautiful, as comfortable, and as protected as possible. If I could
that every other landlord has in the UK, and they failed Charlie on every single front. Tell from my tone of it, I went to the big bosses, and I didn't go as B. Elton, I went as Clean with B. They asked for all of my insurance papers, my public indemnity, public liability, blah blah blah. I obviously handed that over because, surprise bitch, I am insured. I think they were expecting me not to have insurance. I was like, yeah, I'm insured. And anyway, long story cut short, they finally agreed that they would allow me to have a skip. There were a lot of rules, so I had to pay a bit extra for the skip to remain covered at all times. They also wanted me to pay to have a gate put around the skip so no one could, go anywhere near the skip. What else? The skip had to be gone every day by 5 p.m. so that when all of the private residents, got back to the buildings after work, they weren't seeing anything that was an eyesore. The irony is that I think if anyone were to actually ask one of the wealthy residents in the surrounding blocks, like, hey, is it okay if we put a skip here? I don't think the residents would care. I really don't. Being rich doesn't make you heartless. I don't think they would care. And then anyway, so all of this went through great. It's then day 3 of the free clean, and I get a really aggressive knock at the door. I open the door, and it's the same man I've been talking to this entire time, the big asshole. And he tells me to step outside, and I'm going, okay. I step outside. This man pretends like we've not spoken, that he's never seen me before in my life, and that we've not been going back and forth for the last 4 months. And he says to me, who has authorised you being here? What is your name? Who are you? And what are you doing in this building? You don't have authority to be here. I was flabbergasted. Quite simply, guys, by this point, I was like, no, I'm actually not having this. I just said to him, check your emails. check your emails, because we've been speaking for the last 4 months. I'm B. And he was all like, oh, well, does the resident know you're here? Where is the resident? I need to talk to the resident. Important to note, Charlie had also messaged him countless times, because Charlie had to keep verifying that Charlie had given me permission to, you know, organise all of this on Charlie's behalf. I didn't say this to his face, because it would be rude, but in my head I was just thinking, you are just wasting my time. You're wasting my time, you're being an asshole for the sake of it, and this just seems like some big weird ego trip for you. I'm gonna go back to cleaning this flat, and by the way, let's not pretend that that doesn't benefit you. And then, like, pretty much anytime the doorbell rang after that, I just chose not to answer it. So, honestly, I don't know how Charlie put up with him for the last 5 years. Woohoo! I've been here since like 9 a.m. Still not done. But tomorrow will hopefully be the last day. We're gonna drop these back at the flat, then in the Uber, and then we're gonna go home, get a takeaway. Both Harry and I are getting ill again. We just keep getting ill.
Yeah, we do on the cleans.
On the cleans, we keep getting ill. Anyway, and I don't want to hear it. Anyone being like, it's because you're not wearing PPE. I do. I think it's just from being exhausted, like knackered. Because we do, you know, you do like 12-hour days every day for like a week straight, and it weighs on you.
Yeah.
So order an Uber. We return the rug doctor. Okay guys, we're finally at the end of the clean, and it is time to start putting this home back together again. Now, I bought Charlie a new bed from IKEA, and I did hire a handyman to put it together for me. So he was in Charlie's bedroom doing that while I was just doing the final cleaning stages. In terms of decor, I knew that Charlie's favorite color was yellow. It was a color that reminded her a lot of her mother and grandmother, so we've got a lot of yellow kind of going throughout the home. Ayo very kindly gifted Charlie this air fryer, toaster, kettle, and a brand new fridge freezer, because the last one was a little bit of a biohazard. So huge shout out to them. And whilst I put the flat back together again, I want to finally give you the update on Charlie and how she's doing post clean. The long and short of it is, Charlie is thriving. She managed to leave that job that she hated and found a new job that she's really enjoying. She's maintained this clean since I've left, and she's had lots of friends round which she's hosted and cooked for them. Don't get me wrong, she still has days where she feels down, but she is being fully supported by her therapist. There's also a few things that she wanted to say directly to anyone watching this video, so I have included that. And again, just like before, these are Charlie's direct words. I felt so ashamed of what I lived through and experienced, but getting help was the best decision I've ever made. And if anyone watching this video is looking for a sign to reach out and get help, I hope this is a sign. You deserve better for yourself, even when it's scary and feels shameful. Between us, guys, I have so much love for Charlie, and I am so happy for her and for how far she has come. She is a completely different person to who she was 6 months ago when I first met her. We always say to each other, we're both so sad over the circumstances that we met, but we are both so happy that we did meet. I'm not gonna lie, this was not a straightforward clean. So much went wrong. The planning process was intense. I became mortal enemies with a bunch of building developers, but you know what? I would do it all over again. Every curveball that was thrown our way was 1000% worth it for Charlie. And now she has the fresh start that she deserves. Okay, we are now right at the end of the video, so before I show you the before and afters, this is the part where I usually say, if you enjoy watching these free cleans, please drop me a like if you haven't already, and feel free to subscribe to the channel. Every time you comment, like, or even just interact with my pages, you are directly funding the next big free clean for someone in need. So I appreciate you. I love you. Let me know what you thought of this free clean. Let me know what you thought of the way we decorated everything. And if you have any questions, please drop them down below. Watching this footage of us, you know, setting up Charlie's bed in her bedroom is making me a bit emotional, because literally when I left that night and the clean was over, she messaged me saying the next morning that she'd had the best sleep that she could ever remember having, and that it was so nice having a bed finally. And anyway, just watching it is bringing back memories. If you follow me on TikTok and Instagram, you'll already know that 3 days after Charlie's clean, I was supposed to fly out for another free clean in the Netherlands, but I had COVID so badly that I couldn't make the flight. So I'm about to walk you through the before and afters for the property. My energy's a little bit low in this next bit just because I was literally hanging on for dear life. I was deep in the depths of COVID. With all that being said, here are the before and afters. Thank you so much for watching and allowing me to do these free cleans. I love you, Smoochie. Please like and subscribe.
I'm passing the phone to someone who is usually the pickiest eater.
I'm passing the phone to someone who didn't used to cook that good, but dinner tastes much better now.
I'm passing the phone.
Okay, we're in the hallway. It is day 11. It's the last day. I'm going to show you what we've done. Me and Harry are both quite ill, as per. And this is the bathroom. You'll remember on the first day, this used to be obviously moving boxes over here. The bath was completely... The floors, the walls, the ceiling, the shower, but everything has been thoroughly deep cleaned multiple times. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the bath turned out. I personally think that you would never be able to tell how it used to look. We went to IKEA. We really wanted to bring a bit of like happiness back into this room because obviously it was so sad before, so lots of colour everywhere. The person living here, they absolutely love yellow, so there's a lot of yellow dotted around everywhere. Okay, we're going into the bedroom now. When we arrived, their bed was actually where I'm stood right now. It was a pile of blankets on the floor, and they've been sleeping that way for 4+ years. So now they finally have their own bed, and I think they're gonna love it. Again, they love yellow, so we've got a lot of yellow running through. We've also got some lovely sunflowers. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. I actually want to know, guys, which of all of the rooms that we're going to show you, which is your favourite transformation out of all of them? Let me know. The bedroom for me is probably one of my favourites just because they now have a bedroom. Do you know what I mean? But let me show you the living room because this is the biggest transformation. Okay, so we're now in the living room / kitchen because it's all one big open space. I'm so happy with how this one came out. Brand new rug from IKEA, brand new pillows, all of their decor set up. Again, when we arrived, a lot of the decor that was going on was a lot of family photos. For the sake of social media, we have temporarily just popped those photos away. Once the cameras go down, the photos will obviously come back out. She's also got some little flowers from IKEA. Rate my fake flower game. I really didn't know what to go for, but we got some blues to match with the blue theme in here. Lots of pretty colours. This chair, this is the person who lives here's Nana's chair. It's very old. It's older than both me and Harry combined. And it's a gorgeous chair. And I slaved away over this chair trying to make it usable again. And I'm really proud of how it came out. And I'm really happy we were able to salvage this as well. I know it will mean a lot to the person who lives here. They've got a desk now. They can work. They can do their work from home. And then obviously this is the kitchen. So we have a brand new fridge, brand new air fryer, kettle, toaster. I'm really happy with how this came out. Fun fact, well, you guys already know this, but when we arrived, we couldn't even see the kitchen. We had no idea what colour scheme it was, but we didn't know what it looked like. We didn't really know what shape it was going to be. I thought there was going to be a kitchen island here, but it turns out it was literally just a wall of rubbish. And yeah, I have to say, the floors came up really good, apart from that bit. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I think it's just damage, really. It's not much we can do. But all things considered, I think it's pretty good still. Same with the carpet. I'm really happy with how the carpet came out. It's still got some bits and some stains here and there that just won't come out. I mean, you guys saw me. I spent a whole entire day with a rug doctor. But again, you know, you can now walk barefoot in here. But yeah, me and Harry are now going to go home because I'm exhausted. We're both a bit ill. If you enjoyed this video, please drop us a I've never been as angry as I was when I deep cleaned this home for free. The house has no running water, heating, or electricity. And the owner lives elsewhere, but he returns home to feed his 3 cats and 8 dogs every other night. It was impossible to ignore the sounds of the animals crying. So concerned neighbours made multiple reports to the police and RSPCA. Because the animals were technically being fed, they weren't classified as abandoned. Meaning the RSPCA couldn't intervene without a police warrant, and police won't issue a warrant without clear evidence. So to cut a long story short, an investigation was never opened, and those animals were left to suffer. Millions of animals are living like this right now, and most of them will never be rescued. They'll spend their entire life suffering behind closed doors. The system is broken, and I want to change it, and I need your help to do it. I want to make it illegal for anyone convicted of animal abuse to ever own an animal again. And I want to introduce a public register of these offenders. By making this list accessible to vets, breeders, shelters, and the public, we can stop abusers from simply just buying or adopting new victims. This is where users from simply just buying or adopting new victims. This is where users from simply just buying or adopting new victims. This is where
Forward. Game forward. Forward. Game forward.
Who are you?
Sorry for last time. Sorry for last time.
too.
Hear me out, guys. Hear me out, guys.
Read. Let's go.